Hello, hello, and welcome to Wine from On the Vine to the Road Tasted. I am Brian, and sitting to my right is...
Hi, it's Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
We are doing a live footage today.
Yeah,
Well, kind of.
Sort of live.
Sort of live. It's live right now, not when you'll see it later.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got a bunch of people on the line. We got Jasmine's brother, and we got Jasmine's mom and dad, and we took a trip to Temecula this last weekend with everybody, and we visited two of our favorite wineries. We went to Fazeli Cellars, and we went to Doffo Winery. And so what we like to do is we kind of want to go around the table. We're supposed to have a different guest today, so we're having to switch everything around. So we're going to pretty much talk to everybody about how they enjoyed the wineries. The first one, again, was Fazeli Cellars. We're going to go into their history real quick, and then we're going to talk to everybody about how they enjoyed the experience there. You want to head us out?
Yeah, sure. So, first place we went to was the Fazeli Cellars Vineyard, and this was our second time, I think, going. The first time we went was with my other brother, and we actually were able to have some other family members come with us this time. So a little bit of history is the person who actually owns Fazeli his name is BJ Bissan. He's a native Persian, and it all started with a family vacation that was in 2001, and he ended up buying into the Temecula terroir. That's how much he fell in love with the Temecula wine country. Their first vintage that they had was in 2006, and some of the varietals that they grow, they boast about 20 different varietals. Some of them are Mourvedre, Sauvignon Blanc, Petit Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Viognier, and Chardonnay. And we had some great blends. We're going to talk about that when we chime in my family. The location of the vineyard is in the rolling hills of Di Portola on the wine trail in Temecula. So they have a beautiful presentation. You see when you come up to the winery, you see the winery sits at the top, and then at the bottom you actually see the vineyard, and it's quite stunning when you drive up the driveway, the trail, and you look over and you see the grapes that are growing, and the weather was pretty that day. They have a really nice location, so we were really happy to make it there again. So that was just a little brief presentation on a little bit of history, and now we're gonna chime in the rest of the gang here.
Yeah. So we got Johnny's. Oh, no, sorry. We got Jasmine's brother.
We got my brother, and we got my mom here today. So they're gonna be talking with us, guys. So this was, I think, was this your guys' first trip to the wine country? Any wine country at all?
Actually, I have been to the wineries before with your aunts. It's a very enjoyable experience, but I didn't have, let's say, quite the knowledge that I have now, being that interest in wine and your background has really allowed
as you do now
to really be more in touch with the background of the wines,
like the grape varietals.
Really appreciate ingredients that go into each wine paired with food. So I find it really interesting, and it makes me, want to say, well, there's a certain wine that's going to go with the food that we're eating this evening, or lunch, or whatever it may be. So
yeah, like the whole wine and food pairing thing.
It's actually grown now as to what it was before. Before, I would just be kind of relying on everybody else and just enjoy the wine. I didn't really have any background on it until now.
Yeah, so it doesn't that help make your experience more depthful and actually more enjoyable because you know what you're tasting?
It does. It really does. And it prompts you to take a look at the wine you're drinking, what its contents are, where the grapes are grown, the regions, even up to the soil that the grapes are grown.
Yeah, it's neat to see like the grape vineyard, right? Like when we first got there, and you looked to your right, and you saw the whole vineyard, growing to the side.
I had a more appreciation for it this time, even though I've seen it before. I really did, realize more what goes into all the
the whole bit.
So seeing the vineyard made a bigger impression on me.
And I think your mom became a member last weekend too.
Yeah. So tell us about that. Like what obviously that was exciting.
Yes, because it's the first time I've really had more of an interest to share.
So now we get to go like once a month and go taste the wines, pick up our shipment. And yeah, and then plus
it's really nice, a nice treat, a nice outing.
Well, it's going to get hot here in the desert, so it's going to be nice to get out of town for the day and just kind of head up to a place that's a little more cooler.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very nice because actually for the day we went, it was much.
Yeah, it was 77 degrees, and I forget how hot it was here. We went over the weekend.
Made the whole day very enjoyable because the weather was nice.
Yeah.
It was just warm, but it wasn't hot.
Yeah.
Then that was enjoyable, the whole, because we had a nice group, and our waiter was.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that, our second place in a little bit.
Oh, over Doffo. How about Johnny? I think. I'm sorry, your brother. How about your brother? How was?
It's already given away.
It's hard to not say names. You guys are right there.
It's fine.
Yeah. So, brother, what did you think about your tasting at Fazeli? Like, what was your experience there, and what was that your first time, or have you been to a winery before?
Yeah, first time, and at the winery, it was great to see a full parking lot because I'm about the social aspect of almost anything. So the front of the winery looked great, and the stairs leading up into the winery was nice. See, after 2020 through the world in disarray, so it's just nice. And as far as the wine tasting, I tasted those amazing details. But 3 glasses of wine to the table. I thought the one you gave me was mine, but I didn't realize until later we're supposed to share. So
that's okay. More for you to enjoy.
That's okay.
So I kept it.
I like how you're like, what did you say to us? Or like, I trust you, or I know I'm in the right hands.
I like this
or
one.
something.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we started you off on such.
It was nice.
We started you off like on high quality wines, and so your palate is there. We started you off right. Because before that, you didn't really drink wine, right? You were just, since what, a year ago? You started drinking wine with us?
A year ago, I started drinking wine with you, and then what I learned so far is I like the bottle of wine detail, but that's where I learned so value in that regard. So then I like it very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a totally new experience now when you drink wine versus before. Because before you would say that you had wine but it left a bad taste in your mouth and didn't really leave a good impression. You don't want to venture in it more. But now that you've had these other wines, and we've had I've introduced you to Italian wines, French wines. You've had wines from Sonoma, Napa Valley. You've had Washington wines, and we usually try to bring unique styles, like some blends, or maybe like I think the very first one you had with your Carmen was the Petit Syrah by the Truithurst Winery, and it was called the Burning Man, and that's one of Brian and my favorite Petit Syrahs. So we had that actually at the Sugarloaf, and that was about a year ago when we first started doing our podcast, because that was the very first podcast we did, was on that occasion when we went to the Sugarloaf as a family. Do you recall some of the things we did like that night or that evening there, Mom, that you enjoyed about that? Because you said you really enjoyed the wine, and I think that was the first time you tried a Petit Syrah.
When we were at Sugarloaf?
Yeah, a year ago when we started the podcast.
That was just, it was the whole experience. It was being in this
in the mountains,
in the country setting, we have such a different setting in the desert, and it was so nice to be up there and just to seem like a peaceful little country setting. It just seems so like a personal lunch there.
Yeah, it's like you're connecting with.
It was a nice experience.
It's a whole connection with the wine experience.
And I was going to say, when we were little, your dad used to belong to, I want to say like a wine club, because we would get like a shipment of wine
Yeah, I remember that when I was little.
And it was a large shipment, and they were good wines. But
they were German wines. Dad was into German and Austrian.
Really know much. Sometimes probably your dad at the time knew more than I did. So over the years, we've had some connection. We used to have the
Tulip Hill Winery, which is where I worked for a short time.
Yeah, and Dad and I went there too. So we were kind of familiar, but not with the background. So we bought the dessert wine there, which was very nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually bought that and shared it with my sister.
Do you remember what dessert wine? Was it red or white or orange?
It was a red. It was a red dessert wine.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It could be a port. It could have been a port, or it just could have been a red dessert wine. Something.
Sherry.
It wasn't.
Yeah, because you can make a dessert wine out of Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. Like for example,
it might have been with a cap.
Yeah.
But I mean, those were the experiences we had, and although it was nice. It's nice. Like I said, I've been to the winery before.
Yeah, it's going to be fun as we continue to go as a family.
Like you just get so interested. Oh, it has this percentage of.
Well, like some of the wines we're going to talk about, like for example, there's a 5% or an 8% percentage of one of the grape varietals, and so you ask yourself why, but then when you taste it and you see that craftsmanship in that taste of that bottle, it's very significant to what you're tasting. So those are the things that I love about embracing the whole wine culture and the studies of wine and the winemakers, the enologists.
And I actually think the membership now is actually going to help be a little bit more in depth, like know more about wine, or keep an eye on what I'm drinking. What is it now?
Yeah, like you're paying attention to now, like what exactly, instead of just drinking it. Now it's like,
so it's kind of exciting. Like,
yeah.
Remember, and actually, and then it's always like a nice outing, and it's a little experience to go out there.
It's pretty fantastic that we live here in the desert, and it's not that far away to drive to Temecula. It's like that's how close we have a wine country to us. It's if it wasn't for Temecula, and when we did a segment on that last month, Temecula, and they started it actually started because of the main bus stop the railroad that stopped in Temecula, and that's how the whole foundation of Temecula started, as a main stop between LA and I guess this part of Riverside. And so it was during the time of Prohibition and when they had the speakeasies and all that. So that was occurring, and that's how the whole start of Temecula began. So it's pretty neat. Otherwise, you have to drive up to Paso Robles, Sonoma, Napa Valley. The closest one's like 8 hours away from here. Santa Barbara.
It's experience there.
Yeah.
And it just comes to mind right now too that your brother, has been enjoying the wines more too. I mean, he, like before, it looks like just having a glass of wine before, but you have to depend on that waiter. Well, what should I order, or what do you think is good?
Right. Well, in each place you go to, like each winery and each family, like we went to small batch production wineries, and they're different from large mass produced wines. So you're getting a better understanding, even when you're tasting what's in the glass, you're getting a better understanding of what is grown in that particular area, because those people have honed in on the skill of what they can get the best results out of each varietal, with the season, the climate, the type of water drainage, the type of soil they have. And so you're every time, even though you guys are learning more and you're enjoying it, you're not in the industry, but now you can see the difference. Like as you go more and more, we go as a family, we have our visits, you're going to be able to include that in what you like to do here at home.
It's nice because you're tasting the wine and you're becoming more familiar with its ingredients and why you choose a certain wine.
Yeah, and what your palate gravitates to. What kind of, like I think you learned a lot this year about body and density when I talked to you about the weight of the wine. what coats the palate, what doesn't coat the palate. So, that's why I brought it a year ago. You were in a different place when it came to wine, and I've heard through your comments how much you've grown too. It's fun. I'm glad that I'm able to do that with my family. I have a lot of fun doing this with everybody in my family.
And this is it's a nice if you do begin to get interested in it, it is nice. You enjoy it. You enjoy drinking your wine a little better because you know what you're drinking. You get to know what's in the wine. Like you always have us also like.
They talk about the location. What type of grape varietals grow there?
Yeah, or even just like when I enter too, it's like just kind of getting the glass and kind of sniffing it a little bit and trying to get the flavors of it. It's like sometimes obviously you have to I've got an appreciation for that. That's just me. Everybody else is different. So some people just maybe just want to.
Yeah, some people it passes over them. It's just like it tastes good. It depends. It depends. Like you were saying, like if it's something that's captured your interest, and it could be on different levels, So I think we're going to talk about the next winery that we went into, right?
Well, I want to go back to your brother a little bit.
Okay.
And his excitement was that he's very safe, which is really good, and he's one of those people who really chooses really hard on where to go to when he goes out because he doesn't want to get sick.
Yeah.
And so this is very exciting for him. I think it was very exciting for your brother, to go out and kind of get. And,
well, you were excited to go and be around people, and to kind of enjoy the whole experience of the winery, right, bro?
Yeah, and it was good company. Just the whole environment. It was a good group of people, very classy, and it felt at home. It was nice to see, nice to experience.
And what was cool was he got to bring his girlfriend, and so he was real excited when she showed up.
Our little Latin Audrey Hepburn, who couldn't join us tonight.
I was hoping she'd be on here because she is just this classic little.
Yes, we sent her a link, but she was babysitting tonight, so maybe next time. Yeah. But she actually, guys, she went on the trip with us too. And she met up with us there, and she really enjoyed the whole thing. She dressed the part. She's very elegant. Yeah.
And I loved her honesty. Her honesty
very honest.
Was awesome.
She's very pure.
Like,
what she said.
I like the fruity wines, and I like the rosés, and I like the zine.
Yeah, because we were talking about the reserves and then the blends. So we were talking about because we were conversing with her on what she liked better as far as. Because I had you guys swirling the glass and smelling and swirling and smelling before you actually got a taste of it and sat it on your palate. So after she had that whole experience and then she started drinking it, she's like telling me exactly what she liked and what she didn't like. She's even, in her own words, talking about the acids really of the wine, the smoothness and the bitterness, and telling me she could taste something back in the back of her throat. So those are all descriptives of someone who's learning.
It's really funny because I remember I remember drinking a little bit of the wine, and I wanted him to kind of better enjoyment of it. And I told him taste it. How it tastes first, have it sit on your palate, and then down. It has a little bit of
it changes. It changes.
Yeah, you kind of and then you get the different flavorings.
You're getting like the first taste, the second taste as it transitions down the tongue.
Right.
It's the tip, the middle, the sides, and then the back.
And it's funny because I just caught myself tasting.
You can let it sit there for a while. You can gargle with it.
Interesting.
You can do this thing with your lips and kind of hold it there and suck in the air and just let it kind of swirl around and then swallow it. It really enhances what you're smelling or what you're tasting.
So when you and I went to the next vineyard, your brother and your mom and your dad and your brother's girlfriend all stayed behind. So what did you guys do while we were...
Yeah, we went to our reservation to get us the table. And then what did you guys do after we left?
I was still... working on the membership at the time, and they took a little bit, I don't know, up the clock for a reservation on the other end.
And what were you doing, brother, while she was finishing her membership? It's like,
I was wondering why you left us.
Bro, what did you say? Wait, where's Brian and Jasmine? What?
That's funny.
Yeah, and I said,
You're like, thanks for nothing. That was so helpful. You just disappeared. Where's my wine connoisseur experts that are helping us here?
And then my dad said, "You'll never get that." That's what was happening.
The realist. Yeah, not optimistic at all.
Meanwhile, they were signing up for their membership, but it took forever.
Yes.
They were signing up.
It was so funny because the guy
membership,
that was helping
took
Mom
forever.
and I sign up, or Brian sign up for the membership, I saw him later on when we were gonna not wait for our 3-hour goat and vine visit to get some dessert. He was sitting in there in the restaurant. I'm like, how did you get here? He was actually the guy that was signing up us up for the membership. He was like so like done. He was
So
like
that's what
drinking
happened.
at the bar like, I am so done for this day. Yeah, it's funny seeing people out of their work environment that you get to meet and talk to, and then you're like, oh, now it's their time to have a drink.
Now, did your girlfriend ever get her wine that she wanted over there?
He did look that way.
Yeah, which wines did Carmen like over there?
She did, yeah. She got a full glass, and I wouldn't know.
I think she liked the. I
I
think
don't know
she
what
liked
she
the
ordered,
sweeter one.
but
She
she
said
did
she liked the
enjoy it.
sweeter. Yeah. Do you remember, Mom, which one she tried? Carmen? Little Carmen?
Well, she liked the Nerus.
Was it a white or a red that she first tried?
Sweet wine. As a matter of fact, it was one of the ones I ended up ordering on the bottle because Dad and her loved it.
Oh, so it was a Viognier blend with the Muscat?
Yes.
Oh, okay. What is that called again? It's on the menu. You have it there.
We got, her and Dad
Oops.
liked it. So we got that.
Yeah. How do you spell it? How do
It's
you?
Norooc.
Norooc. Oh. Okay.
I know Rook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't remember what they called it.
Because
their names are very interesting. They capture your attention. They're very they're kind of like, I don't know what you would say. Well, their motto is embrace the chaos. So the blend like brother that we really liked was the Pandemonium, and
yes.
yeah,
And that's
so
one of the ones I'm purchasing.
and so the Pandemonium, I'm going to go over the percentages because Brian and I tried that, like, I think on our first trip there with my other brother. And we tried it again, this time with everybody else. And so that one was a mixture of Petite Syrah, which was 40%, Shiraz 40%, Zinfandel 8%, Montepulciano 12%. So that was the blend on the Pandemonium, and right off, I think we all loved it when we tasted it at Fazeli.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like a hit for all of our palates.
It's neat because the notes on it are dark plum, leather, and white pepper, and I think that's interesting.
So when you think, so what that's saying is when you first taste it, you're tasting the fruits on the front of your palate. Then as it goes down and transitions, the front of the tongue. As it transitions and it hits the other part of your tongue, you're picking up leather notes. So you said leather, right? So that's like the spice or the oak or the oak pulling through the fermentation of the barrel. You're going to pull out those types of earthy notes. So depending on what they use, French or American, which in this case they're using American oak with a smaller percentage of French oak, and they're able to hone in on that specific taste. And so what they'll do is they'll barrel ferment it first in one, and they'll transition it to the other. So you're going to pick up different personalities from the different types of barrel fermentation.
It's really interesting, and then when you kind of look for it when you're not as familiar as you are, with the wines, and they tell you the different notes, you start to look for that when you're tasting the wine. And
yeah, you have something to think about when you're reading it, and then
you're
sets your
mentally
brain up.
trying to capture those notes.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes Brian and I will be talking, and him or I will be like, "What's that flavor?" Like he'll either say something or I will say something. because we can't quite pinpoint what we're tasting. And then the minute we say it, we're like, oh, that's what I'm tasting. It's like it triggers something in the brain, and it's connecting it, because basically it's before you ever taste it, your brain is already calculating what you're tasting, and then it transitions to the palate. Even when you drink it, the aromatics are already telling you what you're going to taste, and then it transitions to the actual taste on the tongue.
Was I going to say, this is like an off question, but why is it if you drink wines that are on the lower end, as far as costing, it doesn't, I know it doesn't have to be that, because there are some, inexpensive wines that are on.
When you drink inexpensive wines, what was your question? You kind of cut out.
Because Brian says sometimes you were saying that your brother had gotten headaches from certain wines.
Yeah, it's because they add residual sugar into the wine, and also it's the way that they produce it. So sometimes instead of in the process of kind of filtering the wine, they leave everything in it and press everything together. So you're getting a higher amount of tannic levels. So the stems, the leaves, everything with the grapes are all crushed and macerated together in a maceration. Those components, those elements together combine into this chemical kind of warfare, you can say, for some people, because they can make you sick. They can make you have a headache. They can make you dizzy. They can make you feel like a very unpleasant feeling. Instead of walking away thinking, oh, that was a great taste, that was a great bottle of wine, you go off feeling kind of dizzy and kind of headache-like because of the chemical compounds that are occurring and that have developed.
But I mean, it's not with all of the costs.
There are some inexpensive wines that don't do that. It depends on the winemaker. It depends on the level. Because you could have an inexpensive wine, but someone who is crafting it the right way, like a lot of Southern Hemisphere wines, so Argentine, Chilean wines, they're very inexpensive. You can get some awesome bottles that do not do that, because they are crafting it, even though it's New World, that's New World, but they're crafting it like an Old World style. So they're not adding all those components. And it also could be in the way that they might be sustainably farmed too. So they're not putting pesticides in different things that Brian could probably talk about. We've gone over biodynamic and sustainable farming practices. Mm-hmm. Like when we had the Terrelato with what was her name? Isabetta?
Yeah.
From Italy.
Isabetta. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a Tordello. A Tordello, something like that.
Yeah.
A Torgeldo. I don't remember. It was really interesting, but it just shows how important the fermentation process is.
Yeah, because you do want to, it's like you do sometimes want to be able to get maybe less, pricey wine for your dinner, because you're just wine.
Yeah, it's all unknowing, like what you need to buy. It's hard because you got to do a lot of research and you got to make a lot of mistakes. Like when we went to, I went to that wine tasting. It was $10 or less, and
sometimes it could be good.
I had a headache the next morning.
We both did.
I was like, what in the world?
Yeah, we felt ill.
I can drink a bottle of scotch, and I got a headache from like 4 little glasses of wine. I'm like,
well, they were just like little.
It's all comes down to the process of fermentation. It all has to do with that.
It's interesting too. I think that for the most part, our body rejects. I just read that recently because I was wondering what makes us sick. Is it like? But I don't think it's like what Brian is saying right now. It's your wine. It's the quality. It's how they prepare it.
It's the sulfites, basically. The sulfites are what is making you sick. So sulfites are the main cause. So when people say that they can't have sulfites in their wine, well, guess what? There's sulfites in all wine.
Yeah.
Always going to be natural occurring sulfites in wine. It's just that is what wine is. It's always going to be a component. But you can go to like Italian wines or some organic blends, or there's wines that have keto. They're like keto friendly. Those are wines that would be for someone biodynamic, sustainably farmed. All those wines are going to be for someone who's sensitive to that or who gets headaches from wine.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the keto diet, but I know that you can't make any mistakes on that diet. So
there's some wines
the wine
made for
has
ketos.
to be the wine has to be very, very specific.
Yeah. Specific to that.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I think we should move off to Doffo. I want to keep this another 10 minutes when we're done.
Okay.
But so the next winery is Doffo Winery, and we did a podcast on it called the Mistura of Temecula, or California?
Temecula.
No, Mistura of Temecula.
Yeah.
And so what I enjoyed about this winery is, I mean, the wines were super. They were, I think they were in between $40 and I think $80 a pop. But what was really neat about it was that I felt like I drank water the day before. It's like it didn't give you those headaches. It didn't give you the problems that you have when you drink a super inexpensive wine. So this is is it Spaniard? It's a Spaniard-based winery?
In Argentina.
Argentine. It's an Argentine-based winery called Doffo. And again, if you want to know more about this winery, you can go to the Mistura of California. But this is where we sat down for 3 hours or 2 hours, and me and your brother and your brother's girlfriend and your mom and your dad, we all sat down and this is where we really enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, Johnny, talk about your experience. Like, what did you think about you sitting there in that environment? Like, what did you enjoy about that? And the person who was serving us, like, what was your whole take on that?
The wines were next level. They were
good point.
Different than anything I've tasted before. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And that's really what stood out on the place. I didn't know exactly, all the details of the wines like we've been talking about, but just the taste was just enjoyable, completely enjoyable and fantastic. So I loved that I was having wine there because I knew I was drinking something that was well made.
Yeah.
And as far as the service was happened to be, 10 plus service on the highest scale, just by luck. I know you don't get great service, but that made everything even more memorable. That we were so lucky to get great service. So those are the two aspects I liked about the whole experience. I would go again.
Yeah, is it okay to mention his name? So maybe he can get some, I don't know. Do you guys remember how to say his name? Because
Rogelio.
Rogelio.
Yeah.
Rogelio.
It was Rogelio. But
it was awesome.
He kept telling us he wanted to come back to our table because
just sit down,
we were fun. And he wanted to, he's like, you guys are fun. And it was kind of just an awesome experience. Like brother was saying, you don't really get to have that. It was out of the, like he said, 10 plus, like out of the norm. So that was awesome because it was like our first time going to Temecula wine country as a family, and just like the wine was standout, that experience was standout. So
he made our experience that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, if you just had some ordinary service that was just like, it wouldn't have made the experience.
Yeah. And, I'm thinking about even that person's his future and even the work that he does and everything, because, that's what makes, any employee with that type of personality can really make, either a company or wherever he's working, you're making your customers happy, you're making them feel pleasant, enjoyable experience, and I think that's a good.
Well, let's talk about some of the wines we had there. I have real quick the bottles I want to grab real quick, and then you guys tell me which ones you preferred. So I'll start with this one.
Yeah, we had a Salute was our first one, and I asked for the Mistura, and then because that's my favorite one over there, and Jasmine said no, I want this one, and so we got this one instead. It's a 2017, and
blend, right?
It was excellent. It was so good. It was really good.
This was delicious. It was a blend, 60% Petite Syrah, so again, one of our favorite varietals, and then 40% Malbec. So Argentine, great from the owner's native land, so native country. Yeah, and then we also tried. First of all, what did you guys think of the blend yourselves? Like Johnny, what did you think about the first? That was the first one we tasted. Was the blend?
I liked it. So I would like to be more elaborate on the taste, but I need more experience with wines. The one pertinent detail I can share, and it is going into the next wine, but just because that's what caught my attention, is I believe it was the same bottle of wine, but only 1 year difference. And I noticed the difference in taste, if that's correct.
Yeah. You're talking about the reserves. You're talking about the Cabernet Sauvignon reserves. So Brian's holding the 2017, then we had the 2018. You tried first the 2017, and then we moved on to this one. We were really enjoying it. We took our time. But you said that the 2017 was not as fruity as the 2018. Like you tasted the fruits right away on the 2018 vintage. So you preferred this, and again, there's no right or wrong. Because I think the other family members like the 2017 also. I believe.
I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think because the fruit kind of makes a more pleasant experience. Because some of the wines have that little acidic taste when you're swallowing.
It like grabs your palate right away. The acidity.
Yeah. So
higher tannic levels.
I think when you're not used to the wines and you're just getting more familiar with them, the fruity wine.
It's more friendlier to your taste.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It says, well,
I don't like anything fruity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this one did have.
It's not. I wouldn't say it was fruity, but you're tasting the highlights of the types of fruit flavors that you get. They were more like, "Hi, I'm here. The fruit is present." Where in the 2017, they were in the background. They're kind of off back because you're tasting earthy, spice, tobacco, all in the forefront. Fruits came later, so they're softer. They're vague. But in the 2018, they were pronounced.
Mm-hmm. So, but Johnny, you were talking about how the 2017 or 2018, the first one was 2017, the second one was 2018 on the reserves. You said one was more fruity than the other one?
Or you were saying something about the difference?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't like anything fruity per se, but what I recall is I liked them both, 2017 and 2018. But I couldn't believe the difference in taste from 1 year's difference.
Yeah.
And I know you were letting me know some details that were involved, but I found that very
how it's like a back-to-back
attention grabbing.
And
that it was
so
just
different.
1 year, but I did taste the difference, even though I did like both versions of it.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain to us what happens from year to year in agriculture, since he studies agriculture and that's what you do?
Well,
what happens? How come it changes so much from 1 year to the next sometimes?
Well, a lot of it has to do with air temperature and then a rainfall. Temecula does use supplemental irrigation, so
which means
they don't rely on rainfall, but when they do, of course, rainfall is better than irrigation. So when you get your rainfall, when you get 2016 was a stellar year, and 2017 was not as stellar, but it was better. In 2018, the rainfall wasn't as high, so you're going to get more of your irrigated water and not your rainfall water. So a lot of it has to do with that. Again, your air temperature.
So you're saying, will the rain make the wines taste smoother?
Yeah. So like in your natural rainfall, because of lightning and static electricity and all that stuff, there's a nitrogen in the water, and there's other stuff in the water than just water. So a lot of it has to do with rainfall, and then again with your heat. Like if you have a really wet winter, then a dry spring and summer, you're going to have lower yield, but your fruits are going to contain a lot more juice, a lot more fruitier. And then if you have a really wet winter, but then a wet spring and a wet, semi-wet summer, then you're going to have higher yield, but your fruit's not going to be as fruity. Yeah, it's going to be more.
So when your yield is smaller, you get a more concentrated grape, and when your yield is larger, and it's like the flavors are actually mellowed out. They're not as impactful on the palate once the finished product is done.
Yeah. So I like your difference between your vintages. That's why people like to concentrate on vintages. And for some reason, 2016, all along California was just a stellar year. We had a lot of rain that year. We had a lot of rain in the right time. And then we had a super early hot April. So it caused really low yields, but really high intensity in fruit. Yeah.
And one of the key elements of a wine maker working with the enologist when they're trying to decide the biggest, most important thing that they do when they're out there in the field is deciding when to pick the harvest. So very crucial to taking the grapes off the vine, or should we leave them on another month, or leave them on another couple of days, whatever it is. That's like a crucial, pivotal, big deal, basically. So we can see by that going on with these two different vintages, besides the different weather patterns that occurred and climate and all that, it's also, that is a huge reason of what you taste and the difference in the harvest picking of the grapes. So it makes it, we'll probably make it or break it, because that's like a pivotal decision that they have to decide on.
You don't think about all those things when you're drinking your wine.
No, you don't.
But that's and we thank them for that, because that's what makes these awesome wines that we've had, been able to try, so it makes it pleasant for all of us. Oh, another thing that Brian was talking about was the wax top.
This is cool. It's got like this swoop on it.
Show
like
the
this
camera.
Little swoop right there.
Yeah. The Doffo Reserve bottles has
each
this.
Each of them have that, and the only one I've seen with the wax top like this is Bella Gloss. Which is by
Joseph Wagner.
By Joseph Wagner. Yeah. But he does a solid red wax top. But these guys, they put like a.
But Tulip used to have those.
Yeah, Tulip did them too.
Yeah,
but we could see on some of their bottles, not all. So they'll put them on their specialty bottles, and again, these are the reserves. But what Brian was noticing is the skill on the wax, like the amount, the thickness, and then also how they shaped the wax, and it ends like on a certain area. It doesn't just like kind of keep going. It shows that we were talking about how their skills are honed, because this is a special type of thing that they do to the bottles, is they put this wax top. It's hard to do, it costs more, of course, but it also takes skill to do that. So it's pretty. That was the first thing when they brought it to the table. We're like, oh wow, they do a wax top on the bottle. And then our waiter, Rogelio, turned it upside down. He's showing us a trick that you warm it up. So you're putting the wax top like this, and you're warming it up and making it hot. So when he says when you go to open it, you make a precise cut, so that you can get the wine opener and you don't have this like jagged, like ripped, wax. It looks like you would a regular non-waxed top wine bottle, and then you're able to get it in and open it. It was a good little tip. Yeah.
Yeah, he really made our day, just so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's pretty personal.
Yeah, Rogelio was awesome.
Yeah, Doffo hires some pretty neat people there. Even Johnny's girlfriend knew another wine steward that was there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she works with him somewhere else.
Very pleasant
he worked over at Home Depot or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he works there at the winery. And he was also very pleasant, but fun. There's like a fun atmosphere. Yeah. They're very engaging with being in the service industry. Those are the types of things that represent the family who owns that. they're very, I think they do a really excellent job picking people to represent them. Even serving people the food, the wine, that's very important. They have a very important job to represent what they do there, but also who they're representing. So I always appreciate that, and our whole family appreciated that, because it's sad to say, but wouldn't you agree with me? Like, half the time we go somewhere, the service, when it's not that great, we're like, why did we come here? You know, why did we spend $300 for what? You know. So, you know, right? I mean, what's your take on that, brother? Like, when you've gone to places, I mean, don't you feel that it's like the experience is gone, right? What do you think?
Yeah, it's very important for everybody, yes. And I'm someone who likes to tip well, actually, but when people don't deliver on service, I don't know how to fully express it, but you destroy people's experience, and then you destroy expectations of what people have of service. So that's why when we had such amazing service, it even stood out more, because I'm used to seeing service that's just foundational or entry level, or even below level sometimes,
or surface level.
But this one just stood out. This is what you go for. Yeah, and you want to pay for good service. It's part of your gratitude, appreciation, and that person, that individual's taking care of your family. That's very important to you, because you all go out to have a good time, but you're going to depend on someone else to help you deliver that incredible experience. So in the service industry, and it doesn't happen often, but when we see it like we did this weekend, it's memorable. I will go back and specifically ask for him.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the word I would say, memorable, because when I think about the wines that stand out in my head, that word pops up all the time. Memorable. And so you want to get to know the winery, you want to get to know the family, you want to get to know the people. You just want to keep going back for, like you were saying, those memorable experiences. And with your family, everybody's taken care of, and you know, we're all happy, and that's what it's all about. You know, going out and having a time with our family is something that we can all enjoy, and something that we can look back on and add more to our experiences in life together, you know. So and we talk about you guys a lot on our podcast. You know, we talk about the different things we do, our dinners together, you know, wine and food pairings. It could be anything, but you guys are included a lot. So it's really awesome that we got to have you guys today with us on the podcast. And no, it's not everybody, but at least they can see
and
who
it was
you are.
Nice to make some expressions of, you know, what we enjoy and what we're learning. And I think it's adding to our experience with getting to know, you know, wine.
Yeah, and you're definitely going to want to continue. I mean, you both have expressed how you've enjoyed it, and you're looking forward to more. And so far, where you're at, you've had really nice bottles that you've tasted, and different wineries that you've been introduced, different grape varietals, and they've helped you in embracing what the wine industry is all about.
And it's really nice too, when, you know, a family member or a friend like yourself, and you are able to give us some background. So we're actually, you know, maybe having dinner, and as you're pouring the wine, you're expressing to us the background of the wine. You're pouring it, and you're expressing yourself about it, and giving us that knowledge, helping us to appreciate the wine.
Yeah. Well, so I think that covers our Temecula winery trip this last weekend. But so your brother, he runs a service where he plays specific games, and he advertises them on YouTube, and he shows them how to get through certain areas, or how to build up certain types of machines on the game that he plays. Did you want to
talk about that?
Did you want to share what your website is? Tell people where to go if they're interested.
You know what? Another time, because I don't think it coincides well with the wine.
Well, you took the time to be on this with us, and I just wanted to make sure you got your...
Another time.
Okay.
Another time I'll share because I'm making a second channel. I'd rather share that.
Okay.
So you're working on something new.
All right.
So I will do that. On the other channel, I'll share it because I think it will go well actually with your podcast.
Okay. All right. And then how about you?
Thank you.
Jasmine's mom. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. How about you, Jasmine's mom? You want to share anything or?
Well, one of the things that I might like to share is that I have customers where I take care and manage their homes, and it's interesting because I have actually very high-end customers. Now, my goal is to see if we can get environment in it.
Yeah.
Right now, it is the summer here, so unfortunately, customers now aren't. But you get to know your different customers. You get to know what they might enjoy. What specific customer might would be awesome and really be able to help Jasmine.
Yeah.
With just getting that type of thing.
Yeah, because we actually were talking about that, Mom, last. What year was that? Was it before COVID, right? It was like 20.
Yes.
It was the end of 2019, and
your
some of your clients were actually saying that they wanted to do like a hosting of a dinner party with wine.
Yes.
And you had already talked to them about me.
Yes, I had. And the specific, like I said, customer that I'm thinking about that would really enjoy that. It's just the type of person. You get to know your customer, what type of person they are, what they would enjoy, what their friends would enjoy, and I think it's something that could really be a plus, for both parties.
For both, for kind of an extension to your business that's already existed. For how many years have you had your business now?
It's been about 25.
25 years.
Yeah. So she runs a business in home management. Is what she does, and so
out here in the Coachella
out here in the Coachella Valley. And the one thing about the Coachella Valley or the Palm Springs area, as some people know about it, I just remember watching A Bug's Bunny, and this doesn't look like the Coachella Valley to me, But now it's considered the Palm. It's like you don't see that stuff anymore. You don't see the Coachella Valley stuff anymore. It's all Palm Springs now. But the thing about the Palm Springs area is that we are a community, so our population drops by about 50% in the summertime. It used to be more. So there are more people staying behind.
Yes.
But still, I remember when the streets were empty in the middle of summer, and I mean, there's still. Down. Yeah, it's. I remember being able to get to La Quinta to the Palm Desert Town Center in like 7 minutes, and now you're lucky if you get there in 25 minutes.
Well, and if we're on the east side of the valley, it takes you about an hour. Yeah. Depending how far out. If you go to Indio, an hour and 20 to get to Palm Springs, maybe with traffic. I don't know. Like when you were a teenager, brother. Like when you were driving, how did you feel it was driving out here? Was it shorter? I mean, did you get places faster, or like how do you feel on what's going on now with the scene here in the desert?
The highway, the main highway, the 111, I think that gets you there pretty fast. What do you think?
Back then, there was only 2 streets that went to all the same places. And it's exactly the same now.
Oh, really? I wasn't driving then, so I don't know. You used to drive me everywhere. You used to get on in the in your truck, and you used to drive us up 74.
So you think that 111, Brian, is pretty? That's the only way you can get somewhere fast. I don't even think the freeway's that fast, is it? You have to.
Brian's native here, so he knows like all the little places to get through from one end to the next. I don't even know half the places he knows how to get to. It's like I get lost, and I've lived here for a while now.
I just know that the stoplights have
timers
quadrupled, or not even that. It's like times a 10. I remember when I used to drive from Washington all the way out to Palm Springs, there might have been 7 stoplights. And now you got stoplights at every intersection. It's no longer, it's no longer a straight shot. Yeah. So it's.
But basically, there's still two main.
Yeah, you got Fred Waring at 111, and
you got the freeway.
Yeah, and you got the I-10, and if you want to get out to I-10, it takes you just as long to get out to I-10 as it does for you to get halfway to Palm Springs. So.
Because you're driving away from the cities at that point.
Yeah, so sometimes the freeway isn't always the best bet. It's just better to stick on 111. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think 111 is the quickest way. And I think it's not an hour.
And in the whole desert here, across this whole area from one end to the next, I don't think we have a whole lot of wine places, really. We have a couple. Like wine tasting.
Oh, yeah.
Wine tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have wine retail.
Yeah, only a couple. Yeah.
At least we have something, but yeah. I mean, there's some retail stores that do wine tasting here.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
But, I mean, again, we're an hour away from the vineyards in Temecula, and we're an hour and a half from the snow, and we're 20 minutes from the mountains, and so it's like, we got it. Yeah, we're 2 hours from the beach. We got it pretty made here. It's just we got to deal with the summer heat
which is getting hot.
And thank God, all the people who don't know how to drive. A good portion of them. A good portion of them. I'm not saying all of them are bad drivers, but
we do have to deal with our.
It's like we got things in California. We got. Things set up in California that you just don't see everywhere else. Like I remember driving on the East Coast, and the zipper method just is not in effect. It's like, but in California, it's like when you're doing the zipper method, you're entering the freeway. It's customary for one person to let the next person in, and then the person goes behind the next, and then behind the next, and it's a zipper method. But you go to East Coast, and it's just it's a free for all. It's like whoever gets on the freeway, they win. So it's just we
have less chances of dying here marching in.
So there's not the same road ethics, I guess, is what it is. It's like everyone's used to specific road ethics or what they're used to, the way that they're driving, like they're they're driving at 40 kilometers an hour or whatever. So it's I don't know. I was always taught if you're slow, you stay on the right hand side. If you're fast, you go to the left.
We find that's normal, but people don't do that.
It's just again, it's all up to road ethics.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Temecula wineries, and we really appreciate your mom and your brother coming on and sticking it out with us and setting up their Zoom channels and having to deal with.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun. It was fun. We went on our trip, and then we got together and were able to do this for our podcast. So we look forward to doing the next one and continuing on and learning new stuff.
Oh, it was fun hanging out with So I got to hang out with your one brother, your younger brother, and I got to hang out with your older brother. And it's fun. Yeah. It's really fun. I really enjoy it. I've never had, a good experience like that. So
yeah,
it's cool. I get to hang out with.
My family's awesome.
Yeah, they are. You got an awesome family. You got a really cool family. You really do.
They're so much fun. I tell you, like I have the funnest family out there. I really do.
Your oldest brother, he did kind of threaten me, one time.
And that's what older brothers are supposed to do, right?
He's like,
they take care of their
Don't hurt my sister.
My protector.
Gotta take care of it.
Yes, that's his job. He's my older brother.
But he's awesome.
Yes,
he's really cool.
He is cool.
I get to stand in line with him when we're picking up our food, and he was having a blast. He was having fun. It was cool.
It was a great time.
It was good. It was good.
And Brian's mom talks about you all the time. She just thinks you're great.
Yeah, she loves Johnny.
Yeah. And that whole the DJ thing, like all that night, she was just going over.
Explicit!
Johnny taught me what explicit meant. Censors for music.
2020!
It was fun.
All right, guys. So
Okay.
this is wine from On the Vine to the Road tasted, and Episode 28.
Yep, episode 28.
Yeah, we really appreciate this time, guys, and thanks so
Wow,
much
a
for
whole
joining
year.
us.
Okay,
We've been
alrighty
doing this
then.
for a year.
Almost.
Wow.
Almost.
Thank you.
Two
Have a
more
good
months.
evening.
2 more months, and
Yeah.
it'll be a year. Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank
Cool.
you, family.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye to everybody else tonight.
That was fun. Recording has stopped.
1 hour.
1 hour and 6 minutes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, here
It's
we are.
not too bad.
All right. So now we're really gonna leave.
You're falling asleep.
No. No, but it is. We are. Yeah. This is episode 28, and I don't know what I'm gonna name this. I need to go through it and see what's eligible and what's not.
Yeah. We gotta come up with something.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Again, thanks for listening to this whole thing, and we'll see you hopefully next week. If not, it'll be in 2 weeks. So, all right. Wine from the Vine on the Road tasted. I'm Brian and
I'm Jasmine.
Jasmine. All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.